I've dedicated my life to building tech-led solutions to African business problems. And having built Jumia and Supermart, I've learned some lessons that I want to share with you on what we need to do to be able to build successful African businesses. And hopefully, in the process of building them, we also build big businesses. It's an accepted fact that venture capital and venture building has struggled in sub-Saharan Africa till date. Why is it so? If you ask entrepreneurs, they will tell you that it's because there isn't enough money to fund ventures. If you ask VCs, they will tell you that it is because there aren't businesses which have enough traction to be funded. So how do we get out of this dilemma or conundrum? First, I want to define two types of business models. There are fundamentally only two types of business models. There are pipes, which are the traditional ways of building business, where value is created upstream and consumed downstream, where whatever competence is used to build a business is kept by the business and used by the business. Then, of course, there are platforms, which is where the competence is opened up to the entire ecosystem to use to create value. And so anybody can latch onto that to be able to build a business. Pipes are proprietary. Platforms are participatory. Pipes are about things like competing, out-competing, winner takes all. Platforms, on the other hand, are about enabling collaboration, expanding the size of the market. An example is what you see. CNN is a pipe. They have the technology, they keep it to themselves, they create content, they push the content down to whoever wants to consume the content, and they capture the value themselves. YouTube is pretty much the same technology, but the difference is they open that technology up, and anybody who wants to create content and thinks they have good content can create content and put it on the YouTube. Now, the audience goes and consumes the content, and insofar as the content is good, advertisers pay the content creator, and YouTube gives part of it, and then advertisers are able to, the content creators are able to monetize their content too. That's true. I can't see my slides, unfortunately. Now let's switch gears. This right here is the Forbes magazine cover of November 2007. That's just 10 years ago. The front page read, Nokia, 1 billion customers. Can anyone catch the cell phone giant? Nokia was by far the dominant player in the mobile phone industry. And it stood to reason to think nobody would be able to catch them. That was 10 years ago. Not 30 years, not 20 years, 10 years ago. Today, Nokia is almost non-existent. So what happened? In June 2007, Apple launched the iPhone. It was a fire. All the value was a phenomenal operating system for mobile smartphones. The first time that you would say that the smartphone had come to life. All the value was controlled by Apple. A year and a quarter later, Google launched Android. It was exactly a good operating system for mobile phones, but it was a platform. Google opened it up to the entire ecosystem and said, anybody who wants to create a smartphone can use this operating system. It got out of the way. It monetizes it in other ways, but anybody who wants to create a smartphone can actually use Google's Android to be able to create a smartphone. The first year, Apple was larger than Google in terms of market share. By year 2, the Android operating system had twice the size of Apple's iOS's market share. In the next 7 years, Android will totally decimate the mobile smartphone operating system markets. Today, it's only Apple and Android that virtually exist, with Apple having about 85% of the market share. Okay. What have we learned here? Because Google opened Android up to the entire ecosystem, a lot more people were able to have access to smartphones because a lot more businesses were able to get into the smartphone play. And the graph you see behind you is the number of phones that were shipped. Exponentially more phones were shipped with the Android operating system than Apple. You can see the growth of Apple's iPhone was almost linear. The growth of Android phones is exponential. And then what the graph you're seeing is actually the number of phones that were shipped. The light blue line is Android. The light blue line is the iPhone, and the green line is Android. So what essentially happened is Android expanded the volume of smartphones in the world, and by so doing, expanded the number of people going on the ecosystem. One thing we can learn from this is that platforms exponentially expand ecosystems. Platforms exponentially expand ecosystems and the value that is therein created. How are we building businesses in sub-Saharan Africa? We're building pipes. We're building pipes for some reason because we believe that we can do it all, because we believe that we need to do it all, because we believe that there are no service providers we can rely on. But it's important that we start thinking about building platforms. Because if we build pipes, we try to recreate the entire value chain. And any of these nodes in the value chain can break it. If you take logistics, for example, we have the worst road networks in sub-Saharan Africa, security on the roads, etc. Why would you want to take on this challenge while you're building a business? You could actually outsource that to somebody else. So if we actually start having businesses which focus on different parts of the value chain, we're able to build much better businesses. It's hard as it is building the business anywhere in the world. It's more difficult in sub-Saharan Africa, and it's important that we learn to actually focus on parts of the value chain. Now imagine three different entrepreneurial teams. Each one raises $1 billion to build a business. And each one goes, let's say, an e-commerce company. And each one spends the $1 billion trying to build everything by itself. Chances are they won't succeed. And if they do succeed, they'll build a small business. Now imagine a world where one decides to just build inbound logistics and warehouse, another decides to build outbound logistics, and the third maybe focuses on marketing. And they put the competence that they develop at the disposal of the entire ecosystem. We have a much higher probability that we're going to have one or three very good companies, successful companies being built. The most important is that we're going to have many more companies that will be built that will be able to leverage the know-how that these ones have actually developed. I think what we need in sub-Saharan Africa is not many small teams building small businesses. What we need in sub-Saharan Africa is a few teams working synergistically to tackle big problems and build big businesses. And why are platforms crucial for building businesses in sub-Saharan Africa? Because there already exists a way of doing this in sub-Saharan Africa. These are your typical African markets. Each and every one of these is a market that has been formed by billions and billions of dollars invested in by individuals into products and services and almost like what you call customer research, because customers have shown where they want to buy what. If you try to disrupt this, which is what you hear people talk about all the time, I want to disrupt the fashion industry in sub-Saharan Africa. I want to disrupt the movie industry in sub-Saharan Africa. You're engaging in an exercise of futility, because a lot of money has been invested in this before coming to this solution. You're much better off trying to enable this. We learned this lesson, for example, in Jumia. When we went out there and started trying to sell mobile devices, we found out very quickly that Computer Village understood the Nigerian customer better than we could ever try to understand them. We learned that we're much better off building a platform so that sellers in Computer Village can actually put their wares on the platform, so that when we add value, is actually taking the products from Computer Village or from those sellers to the customers. There's already an infrastructure that exists for whatever we're doing. So the new generation of business needs to think more about enhancing that infrastructure than to be thinking about bringing Western concepts and trying to disrupt or replicate existing infrastructure. And I'll tell you a bit about how we actually built Supermart. We built a competence which we realized, or before that, I'll tell you about this then. One of the good thing I can say is that we're seeing more and more platforms being built. Whenever you hear of businesses that are successful, maybe raising money, etc., one theme that you begin to see is that most of them are platforms. I'll talk about a few. Behind me, Jumia, essentially a platform. It's a platform where retailers can actually sell their wares online. Then it's simple. Whatever you have, you can put it on Jumia, and Jumia will help you sell it. Flutterwave is another platform. It's a technology platform that enables anybody who wants to do money transfer or payment services to leverage that technology to build their business. Expressway payment service in Ghana, which enables anybody who wants to receive payments to be able to receive payments. Sandy does something similar, but for people who have motorbikes and bicycles, etc., to be able to use it for logistics and e-commerce in Kenya. And Supermart, what we ended up doing with Supermart is we built a competence, which is picking, packing, and delivering groceries. And it's extremely technical and extremely difficult because you don't want somebody ordering for cheddar cheese and it's brought a different type of cheese. You need to know what exactly you're doing. And we built this competence and we went to the supermarkets around and told them, e-commerce is growing. You know how to do, get good locations, where good foot traffic is, you know how to buy inventory and put it in your stores, merchandise them so you can actually sell to customers. We've built this competence where we're able to put this inventory online and be able to generate orders and pick exactly what the customer wants and deliver to the customer. Let's work together. We'll help you grow your business. And because we went to them with that proposition, they bought onto it. So today, Supermart enables retailers in Lagos to be able to sell their grocery online. So if your local supermarket, for example, wants to be able to do online grocery delivery, most probably you would not have done it by yourself. You would have started and stopped and started and stopped. But through partnership with Supermart, they're able to do it. You probably even have heard about Jumia Fresh, which is Supermart's powering grocery delivery for Jumia. Okay, as we said, we've actually expanded into Kenya with the largest retailer in Kenya, again, powering grocery delivery in Kenya. And we have plans to extend this competence across the subcontinent. And the reason why we're in business is really because we're helping the traditional retailers be able to do what they're able to do. We're expanding their capacity, we're expanding the market, we're expanding the ecosystem. Had we gone and said we're going to build a better grocery store, which people have spent years doing already, we would be out of business by now. But instead, because we're expanding their capacity, they help us. They give us credit days. They give us space in their facilities. They give us marketing budgets, etc. So it's important for the new generation of business to be thinking about how to extend the old generation of business instead of trying to disrupt, which is the what we talk about only when we naively, I would say, start trying to build businesses. The world today, in my opinion, is having them of Africa to come. These are the top 5 companies in terms of market cap in the world. In 2001, the green is a technology company, the black is all other industries. In 2001, you had GE, you had Exxon, you had Citi, and you had Walmart. Then you had Microsoft at number 2. 2006, you had Microsoft at number 4, Exxon number 1, GE number 2, Total number 3, and Citi. So it was always, oil and gas, banking, etc. In 2016, all 5 companies by market cap in the world are technology companies. Number 1 being Apple, 2 Google, 3 Microsoft, 4 Amazon, and Facebook. And what you see is that almost all of them, apart from Apple, which has its own reasons for being number 1, are platforms. Okay, I believe we're going to be able to solve African problems using technology. We're going to be able to make it possible for farmers to be able to take a picture of a diseased crop and immediately be able to receive whatever they need, insecticides or whatever they need to be able to treat it. We're going to be able to build things like community policing and traffic policing using technology. We're going to be able to expand the tax net of our communities using technologies. And of course, if we do expand the tax net, then we're also going to be able to make sure that we have visibility into the taxes that the taxman is collecting, so we can actually make sure that they're spending the money well. At the end of the day, we're going to be able to build technology businesses that expand our ecosystem, and we're able to replicate something like this. But for us to do that, we need to build smartly. And the way to build smartly is not to think about replacing other people, not to think about taking their lunch, but instead to be thinking about expanding their capacity, because we understand modern technology. And if we think about expanding the capacity of already existing businesses, they're going to support us instead of competing with us, and we're going to be able to build better businesses. After 2 businesses in Nigeria and Sub-Saharan Africa, Jumia and Supermart.ag, this is what I've learned. Thank you.